Megan, and we start with a Fox News alert. Angry anti-Trump liberals taking to the streets in major cities all across the country to protest President-elect Donald Trump's huge, massive victory. Rob Schmitt, he's live on the ground in the middle of one of these protests in the heart of New York City. Rob, what's going on?
Sean, this was thousands of people here tonight. This protest started at about 6 o'clock in Union Square, a little closer to downtown and lower Manhattan. And it moved on up. If you look behind me here, you can see so many people right here outside of Trump Tower, right outside Donald Trump's address and his apartment. And they are very loud. They have been very angry, but they have been peaceful here tonight. But this was really a spectacle of the Never Trump movement. This was a spectacle of the Bernie Sanders supporters in large part, a lot of Hillary supporters out here as well. This was Black Lives Matter. This was a number of different movements all coming together in this sort of Never Trump kind of mentality, trying to take this back. They want a do-over from this election, frankly. And if you looked at it from the air, if we have any video of that, it was an impressive display through the rain, in the cold. They marched all the way from Union Square through Midtown, making a disaster of Midtown traffic. Thousands of people walking up here to Midtown and getting here right outside of Trump Tower. And we want to talk to one of these protesters here, a young lady named Daniela, and she's up here. And let me just ask you, first of all, this is a crowd that's very upset about what happened in the early morning hours. Actually, today, what we figured out from Election Day. What is it that has you so upset?
I think what has me so upset is the fact that, you know, a lot of people feel victimized by Trump, and a lot of people don't understand and don't feel like, you know, that he represents them. That's why they're saying, not my president, not my president. And they reject him as and they
live on Fox News right now, brother.
And they
Give us 30 seconds.
And they reject him, and that's the thing. The reason they reject they don't believe that he stands for them. And it's created a vacuum for people who do have these racist, sexist, bigot feelings, and it's created a vacuum for them to speak openly about it instead of coming together in love. They've been preaching love. This is the thing.
And I can understand the anger at Donald Trump. A lot of people can understand some of the things he said have been very offensive. Who was it that you voted for, if you don't mind I ask?
Well, I was a Sanders supporter.
You were a Sanders supporter.
But I did vote for Clinton.
You did vote for Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
You know, I mean, Hillary Clinton had her own.
Hey, Rob, let me ask you a question.
A lot of baggage there, too, right? And hang on. Yeah,
absolutely, but I feel that, tell me what politician has never had any kind of baggage? I mean, come on. What politician?
And Sean here wants to ask a question. Sean, go
Rob,
ahead.
I want to, all right, she voted for Hillary. Name 3 specific accomplishments of Hillary in her career that helped the American people.
Okay, Sean wants to know, what are the accomplishments that you saw of Hillary Clinton over the 30 years or so she was in office that actually helped the American people?
Trump supporter.
Well, when I was a child, I was actually one of the people that benefit from her health care plan. So as a child, I was on that.
Her health care plan never passed.
I actually received health care from.
It never passed.
Her initiative. So
Okay.
I think that was something that was really beneficial to me.
All right.
And I don't know. I don't see her as this demonized person, but.
Okay, what else? Other than Chip, what else? What did you see? What inspired you to vote for Hillary Clinton, even though you were a Bernie Sanders supporter?
Honestly, I really feel like it's just because if you look at the two, I feel like is more about, you know, speaking for people that can't be spoken for, instead of that, you know, that little group of people.
And the anger out here, you think, is palpable. You could feel it in the air.
Yeah, you could definitely feel it. And, you know, I just feel like these people are upset, you know, and they have a right to be upset. And, you know, the things that he said is, like I said, has created a vacuum for people to speak openly about things that really, honestly, instead of teaching tolerance and peace and love, you're teaching hate.
Thank you so much, Danielle.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Very well said. And Sean, you know, out here tonight, if you watched any of the Kelly File right before your show, a lot of this was a good, solid protest. That's the foundation of America. But a lot of it was nonsense. There's so many people here that just want to yell curse words and just want to, you know, hang from the rafters and just do stupid things. So, I mean, we had people bombarding us, jumping on us. We had our producer here, Marta, getting in a fight with a guy. It was just ridiculous. So it's important to people remember why people come out here and protest if you want to take it seriously. I think she did.
The next time somebody says Hillary's health care plan helped them, you might want to remind them she never passed her health care plan. Anyway, Rob, thank you. Appreciate it. Good job. Tonight, the voice of you. We owe a debt of gratitude to you, the American people. It's now finally been heard. It's very loud. It's very clear. And at this very moment, because of all of you speaking so loudly, Washington, D.C., the establishment is terrified, and they should be. These people do not get what happened. I'm going to try to explain it to them. Now, the politicians, the pollsters, the elite media, the global elitists, they're all in shock from President-elect Donald Trump's historic victory yesterday. They said this would never happen. He didn't stand a chance in the Electoral College that voters in swing states wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. And guess what? They were all of them wrong, making this one of the greatest upsets in American political history. So the question is, let's help them understand how we got here. And so what did everybody miss? Peace, prosperity, right? They drive elections. And according to our Fox News poll that was released on Monday, 58% of you, the American people, said they're not satisfied with the direction of the country. And that number has been near or at that level or higher since 2009, since Obama became president. On top of that, we saw the exit polls from last night. It showed that a combined 72% of voters, that's you, are dissatisfied or angry with the federal government and how it's not working. Now, Donald Trump won 77% of those voters who said they're angry. You also have to look at the 40% of voters who said they wanted a candidate who could bring about change. 83% of those particular voters, they voted for Donald Trump. Now, to me, it's pretty obvious why voters felt that way, because the last 8 years have not been good under President Obama. Look at these numbers. Pay very close attention. These are real people, real Americans, real suffering, needless suffering. The lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. Almost 95 million of our fellow Americans are suffering and out of the labor force. The worst recovery since the 1940s. The lowest home ownership rate in 51 years. We now have 43 million of our fellow citizens on food stamps, 12 million more since Obama took office. Over 43 of our fellow citizens, 43 million Americans, they live in poverty. That's up over 8 million since Obama became president. Right now, we have 1 in 5 American families. They don't have a single member of their family in the labor force, in the workforce. And right now, 1 in 6 men between the ages of 18 and 34, prime working years, now they're either in jail, incarcerated, or living in mommy and daddy's basement out of work. And by the time President Obama leaves office, he will have accumulated more debt for this country than all 43 presidents before him combined. Now, everything that I just showed you, it isn't just the numbers. It's not government data. It's, for bureaucrats to say, oh, 43 million, okay, we'll look at that. These are our friends, our neighbors, our co-workers in some cases, real people, real Americans, real lives left behind. They are the forgotten people that Donald Trump has been talking about. He talked about the forgotten man, the forgotten American. Now, President Obama deserves a lot of the blame for this suffering, but so do the Republicans in Washington. They did nothing to stop Obama's agenda, even though they promised over and over again that they would. Republicans, at times, they were timid, they were afraid, they were spineless, they didn't want to take a stand. Republicans sat on their hands while President Obama exploded and doubled the national debt. Now, they have the enumerated power of the purse, but they refused to use it because they thought there would be political fallout and they may lose their jobs. Then you have the promise of Obamacare. Repeal, replace Obamacare. All right, well, that's one of the biggest lies ever told by government in American history. Remember, you like your doctor, you keep your doctor. Like your plan, you keep your plan. And on average, the American family is going to save $2,100 per year with Obamacare. A complete government failure, epic fail lie. The complete opposite happened. Millions of you lost your doctors. Millions lost your plans. Obamacare premiums have been surging by double digits. Even this year alone, many Americans have seen $5,200 increase in health care costs. On average, since Obamacare went in place, $4,100 increase per family. You didn't save any money. And some states are now seeing 100% increase starting in 2017. Now, look, for example, in foreign policy. You got the Iranian nuclear deal. Americans, they're not stupid. Given the #1 state sponsor of terror, $150 billion, the ability to spin their own centrifuges, that's a really bad idea. And you don't pull out of Iraq for pure political purposes, ignoring the American lives, the blood, sweat, the treasure, the tears. These guys fought, bled, and died for cities like Fallujah and Ramadi and Tikrit and Baghdad and Mosul. They won those cities. And then because it wasn't politically expedient, they pulled these guys out after they had these hard-fought victories. And look at Syria. Everyone feels bad for the refugees, victims of a civil war. But if you come from a country or an area of the world that has values that conflict with our constitutional republic, then it might pose a danger to America if we let them come here. Look at Saudi Arabia. Women can't drive. Women need permission to work or to travel. Marital rape in some of these countries is not recognized, and marital beatings not recognized. Gays and lesbians can be killed and thrown off the tops of buildings. And of course, you can't build a church or a temple in a country like Saudi Arabia. Then there's Benghazi. Remember Hillary's failure? 600 separate requests for additional security before the attack. All of them ignored. 4 Americans died. It makes a big difference. Now, we failed the American soldiers, and I'm telling you that happened all from Washington. Let's look at African Americans in America today. And how many African Americans under Obama? What is the increase on food stamps? 58%. African Americans out of the labor force, up almost 20%. In Chicago, President Obama's hometown, over 3,800 people have been shot this year alone. And since Obama's been president, 3,656 people have been murdered in Chicago. And according to the Chicago Tribune, historical statistics now show 75% of those victims are African American. Has the Democratic Party helped these families out? Then on top of that, we've got a failed educational system, especially in inner city America. High school graduation rates are 9% lower for African American students than the national average, according to the most recent statistics. The high school dropout rate for African American students is also higher than the national average. The results should be much, much better that the U.S. is now ranked 4th in the world on per pupil spending, and it works out to be $11,600 per student. Despite the high spending, America ranks 17th in reading, 19th in science, and a whopping 26th in math. $11,600 a student? Donald Trump's going to send that money back to states, towns, municipalities, and then parents and local politicians can make those decisions. Also, you want to know what this election was about? Look at America's open borders. They're a mess, and they're not secure. And Americans knew that if Donald Trump actually builds that wall, then it's less likely that people will cross into the country. It'll also mean that Americans won't be competing with illegal immigrants for the few jobs that are available, driving down wages. And lastly, Americans know that we can become energy independent. And that means we don't have to deal with countries that hate our guts. We have more natural resources here in America that will literally, the lifeblood of our economy, that will fuel this country for generations to come, create millions of high-paying jobs and careers. Now, by the end of this week, I will outline the agenda that I believe that the forgotten people need so that the rungs of the ladder will be put back in so they can climb to success themselves. Those Americans that all these D.C. politicians, Republicans, Democrats, have ignored for way too long. Get people back to work. They can climb out of the pit that big government has put them in. I said that I'm, going to spend a lot of time naming names on this program. Well, I'm not sure if I will. I want the agenda advanced and as quickly as possible. Now, I'll say this to the politicians in Washington. I don't care if you have an R before your name, a D before your name. You either get on board solving these problems for these suffering Americans, I'm done with you. You either fix the problems, do your job, risk your career, be bold, be courageous, show vision, or get out of the way. That's how I feel. I'm also going to be calling out the abusively biased and corrupt media. WikiLeaks has shown us there is corruption in our media at a level we have never known. It's an informational crisis in America, and it is doing the American people, you, a grave disservice. Back in 2008, I said journalism was dead. But as WikiLeaks has exposed, it's far worse than any of us ever imagined. We now know that Donna Brazile over at CNN, the Clinton News Network, she's handing over debate questions so Hillary can cheat. CNN is asking the DNC for questions that they should ask Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina during interviews. Reporters asking the Clinton campaign for approval before they publish their stories. These so-called journalists allowed the campaign